Questions? Look at that model, read that model, understand where Samuel is going for it, and what research questions are you asking? What information do you have to know? What questions do you ask? Allie?
Could you possibly research the ages in the past?
Okay. What is the history of age requirements in Ohio? Is that going to give you a second question? Oh, tell you what. Hold on one second. Let me address that in a moment, Austin. Let me give the follow-up to where I was going with Allie. If you ask the question, what's the history of age requirements for driver's licenses in Ohio, what other question that's very similar might you want to ask? Well, we know what it is now because we know it's 16. And that's going to violate a principle of good research questioning. Let's talk about principles of research questioning. Do you remember any of the principles of good research questions? Back from library skills unit time?
Why is it where it is currently?
No. Zach, answer the question that I asked. What principles? I know I'm kind of bouncing around. Don't worry. It'll all kind of coalesce into vision. But what are the principles of good research question writing? You're writing a good research question. This is a good one. Why?
Because it brings up something that we might not know.
Oh, okay. I could see that. So it's looking for unknown information. So if we already know what the age is now, asking the question, what is the age, might be unnecessary and relatively useless. What else? I can think of at least 4 other principles, one of which is really obvious, and Mrs. Fullhart, if you were here freshman year, probably hit you with it immediately. Thank you. And this is the problem that I'm having with Austin's. Austin is talking about, well, what is done to maintain road safety? Austin, there's so much done to maintain road safety. You want to specify a little bit more of where you're going with that. Otherwise, you could write a book, right? So we're going to want to take your question and maybe specify it a little bit. Okay, it has to be relevant, directly relevant to what we have in the Toolman model, and that's why I started today with Sam's Toolman model, because I want to see the entire thing laid out so every question is relevant. This is the one that I was thinking of that I remember from going to the library skills unit years ago. It's got to be an open question. You cannot ask a yes or no question. So you must ask a question that yields information. It does not simply say yes or no. This works pretty well. Allie's works. I don't know what the history of age requirements in Ohio is. I don't know what it used to be 50 years ago, 70 years ago. I don't know when they started putting an age limit on driving. It's specific. Why? Because it goes specifically to driver's requirements and age, and that's my topic. So it's relevant also. And it's open. It's not a yes or no question. So, excuse me. The follow-up question, Allie, I was thinking of is, what is it in Ohio? And possibly, what has it been overall in the United States? Because I might want to analogize, and that means, that's a fancy word for compare, Ohio to other states. So I'm going to want that information about other states as well. And that would count as 2 questions. So if you're concerned about the assignment, yes, Samuel, that will count as 2 questions. What is the history of age requirements in Ohio, and what is it in the US? Why 2 questions? Because it'll focus you in 2 areas of research. You'll probably have to pull 2 different resources for that. You might find it combined into 1, but most likely 2. Okay, so Austin, let's try to tailor your question a little bit so it's more specific. Something a little bit more specific to the claim, yes. So let's think about I'm sorry?
Because if she's looking at the training age for getting a license, then we might have to look at like people have.
But if you're talking about road safety, Austin, you're talking about traffic tickets. You're talking about eye exams. You're talking about just the maintenance of the physical road out there itself. You're talking about so much. Does that seem clear? So what I want to do is specify, and here, I'll help you out with it. That makes sense? So now I'm not talking about physically the asphalt out there. I'm not talking about police officers and speed limits. I'm talking about the BMV. What is it? I can't remember. I never remember in Ohio. Is it a BMV or a DMV? B? Bureau of Motor Vehicles, not Department? Okay. How does the Ohio BMV take people in their office and ensure that they are being safe out there on the roads? You guys probably have licenses. Can you answer that question a little bit? What do they do besides make sure you're 16? Zach? Make you take what kind of test?
Before you actually apply for a license, they make you read the rule book.
Excellent.
And then you take a test.
You must take a written test. What else must you do? Eye exam. What else? Zoe? If the, do you have to take a class? You have to take a class? Okay. Okay, before you're 18. If you're 18, you don't have to take class. Okay, so if you're 16, you've got to take class. What else? I'm sorry? Drive times. That's right. You have to have practical experience. Leslie? You have to take a practical exam, so a road exam. Anything else? I'm sorry? Yeah, right, the maneuverability, the high point of every 16-year-old's life. How many of you passed on the first time? Thank you. Okay. Wow, nice. I love it. Hearing exam. They also ask you questions when you are receiving or renewing your license. Anybody know any of those questions? Yeah, do you want to be a donor? But that's not maintaining road safety, right? They will ask you though if you are I love these questions because who's really going to answer them honestly? Are you currently addicted to any drugs that will impair your ability to drive? If I were, would I say yes? It's kind of like the question at the airport. Are you currently carrying any weapons or dangerous items? Well, yeah, sure. Is that a problem? Nobody's going to answer it honestly. Anyway, so the BMV in their office maintains a number of procedures that are supposed to make sure that everybody carrying that card is safe, and it's not just age requirement. So now Austin's question is a little bit more specified to the actual topic at hand. Still will yield a ton of information. You can see that just from our personal knowledge, just brainstorming, we've got information that could probably pack a long paragraph.
If some of your questions say like, how does Ohio or what does Ohio, will all of them follow with like a U.S. question, or
could they all follow with a U.S. question? Possibly, but you only want to find the analogies where you think it'll be really useful. So do I want to talk about how Nebraska does eye exams? No. Do I want to talk about Nebraska's age requirement? Maybe, yeah. Because one of those analogies will work immediately for an audience. The other will be too disconnected, too many different sort of connections there. Does that make sense, Allie? Okay, cool.
printed something from this election?
It's a statement, not a request.
Sorry.
That's also a statement. Okay, good. What did you print?
I have no clue what it looks like. Oh, this one. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, Sorry, I become confused. Students walk up to me and make statements, and I just stare at them. We printed something. Okay. Zach, what was your question? Your research question?
Why was it set at that age in the first place?
Okay. Got 3. More? Look back at it, Dakota. Aha. Implied in the claim, 16 to 18 years old. Okay, I know I'm a little bit off sometimes, but you saw me oriented this morning, right? Okay, good. I just was not sure if I had. Get a new one? Just like that? All right. Is that an acceptable question? Is it specific enough?
No.
Why not?
Because there's a lot of differences.
There are a lot of differences, so let's focus this a little bit, because we could probably generate a couple questions out of it.
Isn't it, I don't know exactly what, but I know there's a difference, they say, between like brain development, where you can ask a question about brain development.
Difference in cognition. So we're talking about psych differences.
Maybe pull a stat of like how many 16-year-olds have died.
Ah, now that's a different question, but a very relevant question, Jordan. So tell you what, hold on that question for a moment. Let's finish this one. Kim. Yeah, okay. So level of maturity or responsibility. And the cognition might be easy to... I do not like responsibility. It has too many I's, and I always think I'm misspelling it. Right, okay. Cognition might be easy to measure, right? Psychologists have no doubt developed concrete ways of measuring your cognition, tests, rates, and so on. Maturity and responsibility? Not sure. So Samuel might find that in his research he has found people who have measured maturity and responsibility through certain indicators. And that would yield concrete statistical data, which would be pretty useful for him in writing this paper. All right, now let's, Jordan, what was your question?
Like the threshold between 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds.
That's good. Relevance. Accident rates relates directly to my road safety issue. 16 and 18-year-old relates directly to my claim. I am claiming in the grounds that raising the age will maintain road safety. Therefore, what do I expect the answer to this question to be? 18-year-olds will show a lower incidence of accidents. Other questions? By the way, remember, this is only one Toolman model so far. Now, some of these questions will cover both. Some of them are specific to road safety. And if Samuel has a second Toolman model, then that will yield questions as well. But so far, we have possibly 2 up here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions. Let's see if we can fill the full 10.
Do you have to have 10 for each one?
No, 10 total. No other questions? We need that stat on accident rates. We need some indicators about the difference between 16 and 18-year-olds. We need the history of age requirements, and somebody's got to give me the reasoning why we went to 16 in the first place. And these two questions are probably pretty related. We might want to get a sense of how the Ohio does this through the BMV and driver restrictions. Corinne? Mm-hmm. Nice. Corinne, I like that. Look at that. Corinne's looking for statistical correlation. She's looking to see, hey, wait a minute, when we changed the driver's age, did the accident rates change? That's an excellent question. Now, I don't know about Ohio, so I don't know if they've made a significant change in driver's age that might have yielded a significant change in accident rates. Let's say they didn't. Then where can Samuel go with this? Let's say Ohio has never made that significant driver age change, so we can't find that correlation. We can't disprove it, we can't prove it, we just don't have it. Go to another state. Find another state that has made that change. And in fact, if Samuel finds a state that has gone from 16 to 18, and he's got evidence about that, then he'll be able to provide that analogy between the states that has practiced this change and Ohio. And if he finds out that they did this and it worked out for them, and he can find this data that Corinne's asking for, a correlation between a higher driving age and lower accident rates, then man, he's just done a really good job of proving this. Because remember, according to the Toolman model, his job is to prove this and to prove this. And if he's done both of those, then his claim follows as necessarily true. The warrant's pretty easy. Some of the questions, like Austin's question, will specify how Ohio does this in the warrant. The grounds will be the really difficult one. The grounds is a causal assertion. That means he is making an assertion about cause and effect relationships. You raise the age, accident rates go down. But let's say that Samuel also is thinking about writing this paper and wants to add some emotional appeal to it. Right now, everything's just very logical, right? We're on the logos end of the spectrum. For those of you who know the three rhetorical claims, we need to be a little bit more on pathos. So, can we do any research questions that'll yield that? Huh? I'm looking for research questions that'll yield some information that Samuel can throw into his paper to make more of an emotional appeal, to add some personal flavor to this, rather than just dealing with bulk statistics.
Could you the question, like, if you went and found stories about families that have factored into
This is the question that I asked looking for illustrations. Remember I talked about assertion, evidence, illustration. I want all three of those. When I talked to you about assertion, evidence, and illustration, and I said move past assertion, I didn't mean don't assert. I mean move from assertion, make an assertion, provide evidence to prove it to be true, and then illustrate it with some nice image that really shows me in a human way what it looks like. And the research question here is asking for the illustration evidence.
Do you also put down a stat, like how many 16-year-olds fulfilled the test in the first time, and how many, like,
Oh, okay, that might be interesting. Sure. If you can find that data. Now, something like this, a statistic like this, may not be heavily reported because we're probably going to see more reports about accident rates than failure rates on the test. So if Samuel's looking for this and he finds it immediately, great. I wouldn't spend too much time looking for it if I didn't find it pretty quickly. Looks pretty good. We've got, looks like somewhere between 8 and 10 research questions pretty quickly. This is what I'd like all of you to do. Since that's the case, and we have about 10 minutes left in the class, somebody want to throw up an idea and we'll see what we can brainstorm for questions? Tell you what, let's just pass it around. We'll get a couple questions for everybody who volunteers. Zach, what are you dealing with? What's your claim?
So you should send men back to the moon.
All right, that's right. We're going back to the moon.
I have questions on
What's it? Hold on. What's our warrant?
to set up the lunar base, permanent moon base.
Okay, but remember your warrant's got to be a value. So you have to have a value similar to the values that we brainstormed and listed yesterday. So why are we going back to the moon? Scientific exploration? Okay, so I can see scientific exploration as being a value. I think that that's very clear. We can see the impact of scientific exploration and research. Good. All right, so we're going to the moon for scientific research. You have a question?
On my Google Docs thing, I already have 10 questions on there. I just wanted to
All
make
right.
sure they were
Give me a question.
what will we gain from just going to the moon?
Okay. What will we gain? You want to specify that question to what scientific knowledge will we probably gain from going to the moon? Because just like Austin's question earlier, what will we gain from going to the moon is a little bit too wide. So specify it to your warrant, and your warrant is scientific knowledge, so specify the question, you'll be good. Folks, hearing Zach's idea, and he's already got 10 questions, but let's see if we can throw out some questions that can help him, because you can have more than 10. What questions would you ask? Going back to the moon for the purposes of scientific research, and he already has the question on the table, what will we learn? Emma? How much will it cost? I need to know how much it will cost, and I need to know how much or how that cost relates to the budget of NASA and the budget of the United States overall, and what sort of impact that'll have. Very important questions, especially when you get into counter arguing, because that's where people are going to attack you. Dakota.
Well, I have several questions.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to share this research paper with other people? Like
Oh,
class?
absolutely. Share it with as many people as you'd like. In fact, I found that when I introduce students to Google Docs, quite often I log on to their paper and I see they've shared it with 3 or 4 other fellow students to receive some feedback. So please feel free to. Excellent. So we've got economic series of questions. Any other questions for Zach on the moon? Just economics, scientific exploration. Okay. Next. Caitlin? What's your, give me your claim and your warrant, and we can move from there. Sorry, we had it up. That's right. So, right. There's that. We had it here somewhere, right? Did I miss it? Okay, okay. So we've got this. Fire out a question for Caitlin. Federal government should evaluate every senior citizen for a home care plan. Feds should protect senior citizens. Evaluating everyone will protect them. You want an economic question? Excellent. So how much will this cost federal government to put this into place? How much will it cost families? Yes, what is a home care plan? Good. Allie's identified that some of your research questions will be basic definitional questions. And remember, we said, don't define something that everybody knows. What is a driver? I know what a driver is. Okay, so if the 5th grade paper opens with, have you ever wondered what a driver is? Well, a driver is this. You say, okay, thank you very much. But if Caitlin is talking about a home care plan, I don't know what a home care plan is. She needs to define that. Brett.
Could you possibly research
Oh, excellent. So what do seniors say about home care plans? There gets your personal illustration. You can get probably both statistical as well as subjective opinion-based feedback on that. Corinne? Correct. So part of the definitional question will be, are we shipping them out or are we keeping them in with assistance at home? Kim? How will their family feel? Yeah, so if you have a question asking for subjective impressions from the senior citizens, you should get the subjective impressions from the family as well. Leslie? Specify the evaluation. Leslie and Allie are telling you about questions that are absolutely vital when you are proposing a program that is not known to the general public. I don't know what this evaluation would be all about, and I don't know what a home care plan is. You need to specify it for me, and do not assume that I understand what this evaluation would be. I am neither a senior citizen, nor have I ever had to deal with a parent or other family member who has undergone this time of life. So I need to be explained what that is, especially because you throw out senior citizen evaluation and suddenly people are saying that the government wants to kill our grandparents. Right there, the death panels, you hear those rumors. Obama's health care plan has death panels where they're going to come to your home and evaluate whether or not your grandmother should live. Yes. So, you didn't hear those rumors? Oh, yeah. It's good. You shouldn't listen to anything anybody says anymore because everybody's insane. But Caitlin's not going to be insane because she will specify this in no uncertain terms. Claire? Oh, impact on regular U.S. citizens. Yep. Now, nobody hates crunching numbers and talking about economic impact more than I. I can't stand it because I don't understand money. The only thing I understand about money is how to spend it, not how to maintain it or make it. Teacher. So, that may be interesting to you, Caitlin. It might not be interesting to you, but some of those economic questions must be addressed. Okay. Some of them are too important not to. Yeah, and that's one that I think Caitlin's already anticipating and really must go to. So talking about what is the accident rate or impact on somebody in a home care plan versus somebody not in a home care plan. Because if you're right, then the people not in the home care plan must show much higher rates of accidents, much higher expenditures in health care and so on. The people in home care plans have got to be a lot lower. Next topic. Jared. Oh, excellent. Okay, so we want capital punishment for murders, like first-degree murder? Yeah. Okay, first-degree murder, capital punishment statewide. So you want all states to do this? Yeah. All right. Questions?
How much would it cost to actually put them for capital punishment if people do not?
Everybody's always asking the cost differential. You know what? I've heard people go either way. It's more expensive to kill them. No, it's more expensive to keep them alive. So find some stats on which is more expensive, life in prison or capital punishment. Yes. How does this affect the victims and the victims' families? Obviously, the victims are dead, right? But the victims' families. There you go. So you will need those personal stories. That's really where the heart of your paper will be, is the personal stories of those affected, especially if that's your warrant. Leslie? Yeah. No. Because what's going to happen is you're going to go to the library for 2 days next week, and when you go to the library, you should have a list of questions, and then you're going to answer those during the library research. Okay. Other questions for Jared? Brett? Oh, yeah, and actually, here, I'll shape your question a little bit. Say, why have states abandoned capital punishment? Or why have they adopted it? Because some states have gone back and forth. Michigan abandoned capital punishment 10 years ago, 15 years ago? I can't remember. I seem to remember something about the Kevorkian case, where Kevorkian was lucky because he could have been executed, but Michigan had just gotten rid of the death penalty. I can't remember. But anyway, you want to find those states that have switched. and you want to find out why they switch. So why did states that used to kill murderers switch? Or why do those who didn't switch, and so on?
Maybe like the lifestyle.
Oh, excellent. So what's it like on death row? That's a good question. And also, what is the appeals process involved? Everybody's always talking about the appeals process and how appeals take forever for death row inmates. Get some concrete information on that. Sounds like 6 or 7 already.
Did you do research on like how they do it?
Oh, yeah. Although that might not be totally relevant to what Jared's talking about, but it might be interesting for him to know.